Chris Galzo here with
Matt Howell.
And
Chris Esposito.
Take your time. That's right. It's episode 300. It's the big anniversary show of the first run. December 17th, 2009, I guess, is when we started. It's been 300 episodes, mostly weekly, but we've been around for quite a while, so we brought back one of our original co-hosts, Chris Esposito, to join us. We put out an APB on Briar Rabbit, but he is still nowhere to be found. I did invite him. In fact, I sent him an invite to this exact thing moments ago. Maybe he'll pop up in between his games of Destiny and whatever hentai stuff he's watching. I don't know. So this week, though, we've got a lot to cover here. We're going to talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane, the surprise sort of kind of sequel to Cloverfield. Matt and I are going to continue our walk down memory lane with our marathon of all the films that we loved as kids. And Chris will be joining us on both these films, but we'll be talking about Weird Science this week. Really, the film that launched Robert Downey Jr.'s career. So that's Weird Science. We have John Hughes to thank. And I want to point out, John Hughes, a little golf clap for having some African Americans in one of your movies. So good on you. But maybe not. We'll talk about all of that. We're also saying what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. And then we're going to tell you what we think the best year in movies was. And that's a doozy. But that's not it. After all that, we're still going to tell you what we think are the 5 best films that have come out since the show started. So you can basically say from 2010 to today what the 5 best films are. I got to tell you, Matt, Espo, let me show you something on camera for the kids watching at home. All right, I'm going to show you my list. Here's the beginning of the list. Here's the end. So then in fact, now that I look at it, I still don't have my top 5 done. I have 6 films, so I have to whittle it down. So anyway, enough babbling, everybody. Let's hear a clip from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
In today's world, you have to be prepared for anything. You need a flashlight, clothes, a first aid kit, a diesel generator, a reliable water source, 3 years worth of canned food, a gas mask, and a reinforced concrete bunker built at least 40 feet below ground. But in the end, there are some things you can't prepare for.
There's been an attack. A big one. But down here we're safe. Something's coming.
All right, where to begin? So, if everybody's familiar, Matt, actually, no, Espo, you saw Cloverfield, right?
Yes.
Let's jump right in. Why don't you tell the kids at home?
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I did not see the original Cloverfield. I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane.
You've never seen the original Cloverfield?
No, and I was thinking about that. I don't know if that's going to lend a unique perspective here, but as much as I love J.J. Abrams, which you know I do, it's amazing that I never saw Cloverfield, but I did not.
Interesting, and it looks like Espo's dial-up is going to be causing issues for us as well tonight.
Maybe it's just the state of Connecticut.
Could very well be you and your Frontier cable. What I may have to do is I'll just act out all of Espo's parts if he continues to cut out like that and get all auto-tuned. Kanye West. All right, Matt. Well, I know you've seen Cloverfield.
I have.
People are tired of hearing from me. So if you would do me a favor, kind of give us a thumbnail on what Cloverfield is about, and then segue into 10 Cloverfield Lane, if you're up to the challenge.
Sure. Okay, so the original Cloverfield movie was a found footage horror action film, basically about a ground level view of a kaiju or giant monster attack. Basically,
ooh, kaiju! Look at you.
I know. What can I say? So it's basically like, what if you were on the ground running away from Godzilla and you were only getting glimpses and pieces of the stuff that was going on? That's basically what Cloverfield was about. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
As did I.
This is very different. This is the story about Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays a character. I forget her name. What's her name? Michelle?
Michelle.
Sorry? Yes. Okay, thank you, Espo. plays a character who gets in a car accident and wakes up in an underground bunker being held possibly against her will by John Goodman, and he basically tells her that the world above has ended, and if she leaves, she dies.
Right.
Right.
So the film has been linked basically tangentially, right, to Cloverfield. They say it's in the same universe.
Sure.
But that's it. So we don't know, or the same world. Should we really tighten it up even just to say that, the same world?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess monsters are going to come at some point, right? Or maybe they're already there. Or, listen, this is not the film I think that you expect it to be. Well, I think that's one of the key things, right? Is that they did a great job of hiding this thing, and not really telling you what's happening. I remember when the first film came out, I was scouring the internet and looking for clues to like the monster and the sequel and all that stuff, and they did a good job too leading up to the first film, right? Of just dropping little clues and stuff. Once you knew about it, you could find them. This too, they did a great job of hiding. And I haven't done any research really afterwards to see if there's been anything else kind of that's been leading up to it, up until the release, like what, about a month ago, of the teaser trailer. That was, and so. Matt, we both thought Cloverfield. We'll bring Espo in a second. We both really enjoyed Cloverfield. Do you think this is a worthy sequel to that film, or even though it's a different film, maybe?
It's so different. I would hesitate to call it a sequel. I view this as more of like, imagine if J.J. Abrams just started making Twilight Zone movies, but instead just called them Cloverfield movies. That's what this seems like this is. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie, especially like the first 3/4 of it. But it's completely different in every way than from the original Cloverfield.
And I had some concerns maybe with the final act, where I almost think maybe the film would have been better if it wasn't in there. But
right.
I'm still on the fence on that. But Espo, let's hear your thoughts. You haven't seen the original Cloverfield that we've previously established, so you're walking in as cold. What do you think?
I really liked it. It was different. I love that they hid it. They really hid it from everybody. I had no idea what I was going into. I'd read a little bit about the fact that she is being held there against her will, and you don't know if it's for good intentions or bad. You don't know if John Goodman's character is good or crazy. So I liked the uncertainty, and I liked that they keep that uncertainty going really right up until the final act. It made me very uneasy the entire time I was in the theater. I felt like they did an excellent job of bringing you into the reality. I felt like I was part of it. Maybe because it's just a couple of characters and you're in a very confined space the whole time. But I was actually feeling sick when I was in the theater. I don't know if it's because the popcorn was bad or if the movie was just that engaging, but I felt uneasy, really, from the moment of the car crash until the end.
Yeah, I think that's a great description. You certainly do, I think. And what I love, too, is how Trachtenberg, I think he does a fantastic job, though, of dodging and weaving, right? Every time we have it, he sets up an expectation for something and what's going to be what we think is a reveal. He cuts it, and all of a sudden, wow, well, actually, that's not what we thought it was. And then later on, it circles back around, and maybe, in fact, it is. There's a great little mystery at the core of the film, not just the fact that are there really monsters outside? Is really the world ending? Or is he trying to keep her captive? But then there's so much more to it. John Gallagher's in this as well, right? You may know him from Newsroom and then first run favorite, Short Term 12th. He's really great in this too. So I think that's one of the keys to the film, right? The performances are all rock solid. Goodman's fantastic. Muse, as we like to call her around here, she of course is very strong. But yeah, I think it does a lot of great stuff with just subverting your expectations of what the film is about. It's very Hitchcockian in some ways, but I think, Matt, you're right. I think Twilight Zone is probably a better adjective for this.
Yeah, and one of the weird things I had heard about this movie, because it kind of, like you said it earlier, it came out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anybody was really expecting this, and kind of got everybody buzzed about it. But one of the things I had heard is that this film was, I've heard varying things, that either it was a script, and then J.J. Abrams got a hold of it, and they kind of tacked on that ending, or even that it had been partially filmed, and then they tacked on that ending.
Really?
That's what I had heard.
Huh.
That basically the movie as it originally stood, it was basically the first 2/3 of it, and they had put it on a shelf and they had never released it. J.J. Abrams came back, shot a new ending, or had Trachtenberg shoot a new ending, and they packaged it together. That's I don't know if that's true or not, but it's such a tonal shift that I actually believe that could be true.
That's fascinating, and it lends credence too to my thing that I think I almost enjoyed the film more when we were dealing with everything going on in the first 2/3 than I did the final third. Mm-hmm. So not even third, the final 20 minutes, I guess. But still, yeah, it's that's interesting. I wonder if that turns out to be true. I wonder if it'll become even more glaringly obvious if that is in case of fact that what actually did happen.
Mm. Yeah, and this all shares a world with Cloverfield. That is a screwed up world. That is not a place you want to be.
No, definitely not. So interesting. Yeah, there's a little stuff in here about this on Wikipedia too. So take it with a grain of salt. That it started as something called The Cellar, a very low budget script. And who knows? Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they filmed a bunch of it. Maybe they just took the idea and just adapted it a little more to make it a sort of Cloverfield thing. I don't know. That's interesting. So. Let me think. What about you, Es? What did you think of the film? Did you think the film was improved by the final act, or do you think it took away from the suspense?
Well, it definitely took away from the suspense, and it just led me off track. At that point, I really didn't understand where it was going, and it didn't seem to line up. But I thought maybe they threw that in there because that is the link to the original Cloverfield. Like, is the final reveal, or the last few minutes, whatever, is that the same thing that you saw in the original Cloverfield, or is that something completely different?
I guess spoilers if you don't want to hear about it. You put your earmuffs on, but it's pretty different. I mean, it's pretty different how that all plays out. Yeah, it's actually completely different as far as I'm concerned.
That's true. Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, I don't want to say too much. So, but I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I can see maybe there's some connective tissue, but it adds this. If it is indeed supposed to be that portion of it a true sequel, then it definitely expands on the original story. But yeah. I think cheapens it in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I agree.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think we're all saying that we liked it. I think you should definitely check it out. I mean, those first, the first part of the film. I mean, it's excellent. I mean, it's a good potboiler, kind of extended bottle episode. Everybody trapped in tight quarters. Yeah, it's really excellent.
Yeah. I almost would want to see a play version of that too, if they could contain it to just that. That might be kind of fun to see too. Yeah. I don't know. So would you say though? Do you need to rush out to the theater to see this, or do you think you're all right waiting to see it when it hits video or streams? What do you think?
I don't think it's critical that you go out and see it in the theater. I mean, obviously, there's not a whole lot out right now. I mean, although we've got apparently a very big movie coming out this weekend, so
That's
we'll
the
see.
rumor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're bored on Wednesday night, go out and check it out. But otherwise, you can probably wait till this comes out on stream or Redbox.
What do you think, Espo?
I would definitely see it. I think, I mean, as much as I enjoyed it in the theater, and I got that feeling of, just dread and, I don't know, just being isolated, I feel like that might even be better if you watch it at home. Like late at night, turn it on at midnight and watch it then. I feel like it'll really get you, I think, a little bit better.
You know what what I do too now is that I'm married and all. The missus goes to bed a lot earlier than I do. I have the surround sound headphones, not these, the wireless surround sound headphones that I wear, and watching a horror film, that's quite an experience. Let me tell you.
Alone in the dark.
Yeah, with those headphones on, it's whew. All right. Yeah, I'd have to agree. If I had to give this thing a letter grade, I'd probably give it a B-.
Yeah, that's about right.
I think that'd be fair. Espo, is that your letter grade too? Would you even go up as a B, or what do you think?
I think I'd go a B+ actually.
All right. I could get talked into a B. I could, if I'm being honest with you. All right. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. What did you think of 10 Cloverfield Lane? How do you think episode 300 is going so far? I'm going to go middling. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I would give it a C. A gentleman's C right now.
That's right. I appreciate that. So I also going to go old school with this and make this a lot harder for myself to edit and put together, but try and work in some more clips just like we used to do. Plus, the big movie that's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD is one of my favorite films of last year. So let's hear a little clip from that movie.
I see you ain't got mixed emotions about bringing a woman to a rope.
By woman, you mean her? No, I do not have mixed emotions.
So you taking her in the Red Rock to hang?
You bet.
You gonna wait around and watch it?
Oh, you know I am. I want to hear her neck snap with my own two ears. You never wait to watch them hang?
My bounties never hang, because I never bring them in alive.
Never.
Never, ever. We talked about this in Chattanooga. Bringing desperate men in alive is a good way to get yourself dead.
You can't catch me sleeping if I don't close my eyes.
I don't want to work that hard.
No one said the job's supposed to be easy.
No one said it's supposed to be that hard, neither. It's that little lady. That's why they call him the hangman. When the handbill says dead or alive, the rest of us shoot you in the back up on top of a perch somewhere and bring you in dead over a saddle. But when John Roof, the hangman, catches you, you don't dive no bullet in the back. When the hangman catches you, you hang.
So that was John Root, the Hangman, along with Sam Jackson in The Hateful Eight, being released on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. That's March 29th. Includes a Blu-ray DVD and Ultraviolet Pass. Best Buy, if you get it from them, you get a steel book. Target gives you some extra content, but from what I understand, it's digital only, which kind of stinks. But you also get a lenticular cover. The special features on this are basically worthless. There's a behind-the-scenes look, and then Sam Jackson's Guide to the Glorious 70mm. And from what I understand, a lot of this stuff is available online already. So iTunes, if you get it from iTunes, you get a Comic-Con panel. Again, previously released for free on iTunes. So whatever. Anyway, but it's a must-buy. I absolutely loved The Hateful Eight. Did either of you guys get a chance to see it yet?
No, I have not. It's actually came back around in the theaters, but I couldn't make the time to go see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's about no for you, huh?
No, I couldn't go either.
You guys are killing me. Yeah, it's actually in this theater. It's in the theaters again this weekend. It's playing right now, actually. I was thinking of going tomorrow night on Cheapy Night just to see it one more time, but I'll just apply that $5 to the Blu-ray and pick that up. What else is coming up is Concussion, the Will Smith movie about the doctor who discovers the concussions in the NFL. Includes 9 deleted scenes, a couple behind-the-scenes featurettes, and commentary by the director. New to Blu-ray, a classic from Criterion, Hidden Fortress, the Kurosawa film, which George Lucas borrowed heavily to make Star Wars. So if you get a chance to check out the Hidden Fortress, I cannot recommend it enough. You can see where all the things are, too. It's about like a bandit that helps a princess run through enemy blockades or bad guys trying to capture her. There's a comedic side of a duo of a tall, skinny guy and a short, kind of fat guy. Their humor. The swipes, Lucas does the swipes to go from scene to scene. Hidden Fortress. Bicycle Thieves, also being released by Criterion, considered by some to be the greatest film ever made. Includes a new 4K digital restoration, a documentary about the director as well, and a bunch of other stuff. So you can check those out. Cherry Falls. Who remembers Cherry Falls?
Not me.
Espo, you must have seen Cherry Falls.
I never saw it.
I got a chance to see it. It's a great little lean kind of 90s horror film starring the dearly departed Brittany Murphy. Scream Factory is giving us this film. Includes an audio commentary with director Jeffrey Wright and a bunch of new featurettes to go along with it. I'm really excited for this one because the canon of lost horror films, especially in the nadir of the 90s that I think that they are, this was a great little gem. So you can check out Cherry Falls. The latest Mystery Science Theater set's coming out. It's 35, includes Teenage Caveman, Being from Another Planet, 12 to the Moon, and Deathstalker from the Warriors from Hell. Let me tell you, those last 3 are classics. I can take or leave Teenage Caveman, but Deathstalker, 12 to the Moon, and Being from Another Planet are some classic MST3K. I can't decide what to go with for your straight-to-DVD pick of the week, gentlemen. I can't decide. You tell me what you want. Bunny, the Killer Thing, or RoboShark? What would you rather hear about?
RoboShark. I'd rather hear about RoboShark.
Yeah, Espo, RoboShark?
Probably RoboShark.
All right, well, what starts off as a typical day in the streets of Seattle soon becomes a terrifying bloodbath when a great white shark devours an alien space probe.
Of course.
And thus, RoboShark is born.
You put an alien space probe around a shark, they're going to eat it.
The U.S. military comes after it with guns blazing, but it's the power of social media that puts an ambitious newscaster and her tech-savvy daughter ahead of everyone else in the race to stop destruction. Get ready to dive into a killer good time packed with heart-pounding chases, high-tech battles, laugh-out-loud humor, and unforgettable special effects. I bet you that unforgettable is supposed to be in air quotes.
Well, you'll remember them for all the wrong reasons.
RoboShark. It's better than last week's, right, Matt? What was the one about the shark that was the guy's area?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Penis shark. Whatever it's called.
That's yeah. I didn't catch up with that for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. So your streaming pick of the week. I just want to touch on this briefly. I don't know if either of you guys had a chance to watch it. I've seen the first 2 episodes, but we can take a minute and talk about the first one, which is the Return of Daredevil, season 2. Matt, did you get a chance to see it?
I have watched the first episode, and that is it. I'm very disappointed, but the reason for that is, as you understand now, as we all married folks here with significant others, and it really sucks because they want you to watch stuff with them, so I gotta wait when she's ready to watch Daredevil. It's unbelievable.
That's ridiculous. Espo, have you seen Daredevil yet?
No, I haven't.
Did you watch the first season?
No. I did watch. I watched some of the other Marvel shows. But I did not watch Daredevil.
Jones, but not Daredevil? Is it because there's no Jennifer Garner in it? Is that really like a boycott thing or something?
No, it has nothing to do with that. Just, you know what? I think I was confusing it with The Flash because I watched an episode of The Flash, and I thought it was very just PG and not my speed, and sort of forgot that Daredevil was out also.
Fair enough. Well, Matt, what did you think about the first episode of Daredevil season 2?
I thought it was really good. I thought the Punisher was cool. I kind of liked how they kind of teased it at the end. It kind of drops you right back in there. So, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I mean, it seems to pick up right where it left off and hasn't really skipped a beat. Yeah,
I agree. So far, so good. I've heard middling reviews. Some people say it's better. I've seen a couple reviews that say this is a big step down, but a great launching pad for Bernthal's Punisher, which I guess they're making a series out of that now too, right? So, yeah, but so far so good. I liked Matt gets his ass kicked, which of course is normally what happens, and things just go nuts from there. But so I gotta admit, so far I like where we're going. But like I said, we're only an episode in, so we'll see how it all turns out. All right, gentlemen. Let's take another quick break, and you know what? We're going to tell you what we think the best year in movies is. And I'm going to play a clip from a movie that didn't make the cut. So that's 12 Monkeys. So for me, 1995, which includes 7, Braveheart, Usual Suspects, Toy Story, GoldenEye, Heat, and 12 Monkeys. Sorry, it's not the best year in movies. Let's take a listen.
Do you know what crazy is? Crazy is majority rules. Yeah, Take germs, for example.
Germs.
Uh-huh. In the 18th century, no such thing. Nada, nothing. No one ever imagined such a thing. No sane person anyway. Along comes this doctor. Semmelweis comes along. He's trying to convince people, well, other doctors mainly, that there are these teeny tiny invisible bad things called germs that get into your body and make you sick. Huh? He's trying to get doctors to wash their hands. What is this guy? Crazy? Huh? Teeny tiny invisible, what do you call them? Germs? Huh? What? Now, cut to the 20th century. Huh? Last week, as a matter of fact, right before I got dragged into this hellhole. I go in, to order a burger in this fast food joint. The guy, he drops it on the floor. Jim, he picks it up, he wipes it off, he hands it to me like it was all okay. What about the germs, I say? He says, I don't believe in germs. Germs are just a plot they made up so they can sell you disinfectants and soaps. Now, He's crazy, right?
So, guys, I had a really difficult time with this.
Me too.
1939, for a lot of people, is considered the best year in movies. I don't think that's just because the fact that Gone with the Wind came out that year. But there's a lot of classics of Wizard of Oz, Stagecoach, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Hound of the Baskervilles. I mean, a lot of great stuff. Now, Young Mr. Lincoln, Another Thin Man. You could really make the case that 1939 was the best year for film. Now, here's my issue. It's not really my thing, right? I've seen a bunch of those movies, but those films didn't really have the impact in me that some later stuff did. Now, I don't know. Goodbye, Mr. Chips, Wuthering Heights, Ninotchka. I mean, that's a strong-ass year. So we had to kind of pick a few films, right? I did a minimum of 5, but as I look at it, I think I have at least 6 per year to really kind of decide what I think the best year in movies was. So, I don't know, Matt, are you comfortable starting us off, and then we'll go to Espo, and then me? What do you think?
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, so I had tough. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to go to really anything earlier than the 70s for me, because I'm like anything really earlier than that's really not my thing. I guess I can't really call myself a film scholar, but most of those older movies I'm not a huge fan of. So let me pull up my list here. So I decided to try and think of some movies that I thought were really good when I was going through the list, and I landed on 1982. Now, I kind of wanted to try and force myself into 1983 so that I could get The Empire Strikes Back in there, but I couldn't really justify it for the rest of the other films that are out there, at least is compared to some of the other years that were...
Wait. Whoa.
What?
Say that again. 1983? You couldn't get Empire in? You mean Jedi?
Yes. No, I wanted to. Let me get my year. I might have got my years wrong here. Hold on.
Yes, you do.
Okay. 1981 is when Empire Strikes Back came out, right?
Keep going.
1980?
Yes.
Okay, well, I was 1. Okay, well, I looked
but you're
at
on 1982.
Yes, I'm on 1982. I'm for sure that's the year that I want. I mean,
okay.
other than Airplane, I couldn't really get anything else from 1980 in there for Empire Strikes Back. But I went with 1982 because that gives us the greatest Star Trek movie ever. Still, The Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
It gives us one of the classics of science fiction in Blade Runner, and it gives us one of our all-time best horror movies, hands down, ever, that still has yet to be topped, is The Thing, which I think you can agree with all of those. We were trying to go with the 5 thing. E.T. still has a bit of a nostalgic. If I sat there, I'm like, I don't want to watch E.T., but I watched it with my daughter, and I got kind of choked up watching it because it brought back the feels. So I'm throwing that in there just because it's gonna happen. When you watch it, it's gonna happen. Yeah, and it also has Conan the Barbarian, so there's that.
I was gonna say, don't tell me. You got Poltergeist, you got Tron,
yep.
Annie, Rambo, The Verdict, Officer and a Gentleman, Rocky 3, Gandhi, Tootsie, The Dark Crystal, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Fitzcarraldo, Halloween 3, the best Halloween movie. Espo, am I right?
No, you're wrong. I think everybody in the world would agree that you're wrong.
48 Hours. And you know what else came out in 1982? Really bizarre, crazy little Spanish horror film called Pieces, which if you haven't seen, they just released a Blu-ray of this, which is a gorgeous set. It is one of the most screwed up horror films you'll ever see. And where the two taglines is, you don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre, and the other one is Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is.
So can I go off topic here a little bit? Just
by all means.
I got a guy at work. Didn't that thing come a puzzle? Potentially, like there was puzzles of a murder victim that were randomly included in those. I guess it's really rare. And
yes,
dude got one, and he's like, "What do I even do with this?" I'm like, "You should sell it if you don't want it." So there you go. I know a guy, Chris. If you want it,
I got one already.
Did you?
I went to. There's a great little grindhouse store here in Tampa called Grindhouse Video in Tampa. And they were doing pre-orders, and I was lucky enough I did get one with the puzzle. So I'm going to include the pieces together and frame it and hang it on the wall to make Jen very happy. No, I hear some people have been throwing them up on eBay, getting like $35, $40, $50 for them because they are already gone. I think, of the first 3,000 copies, I think, included the puzzle. So, yeah. Yeah, 1982 is a strong year. I got to give it to you. There's a lot coming out, so that was like a finalist for me. It really was. So
yeah, I think the Thing and Horatio Hornblower in Space really is what did it for me.
Those are the two that have the strongest pull. That and Blade Runner for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. What about you, Espo? What do you think the best year in movies was?
Well, I must say I think I looked at this from a little bit of a different perspective than you guys, and I looked based on box office success.
Okay.
So while some of these movies and this year was not necessarily my favorite, I do think that 2015 was actually one of the best years for movies. I mean, the number one, you can't deny Star Wars Episode 7. Not only is it, come on, it's Star Wars, but also J.J. Abrams. It was clearly better than any of the prequel Star Wars. So it's the best Star Wars, I think, that came out since I've been able to go to the movies myself and see Star Wars. Obviously, it's no Empire, but...
It is no Empire. Let me ask you this. What was the first Star Wars movie you saw in the theaters? Was it Jedi?
No, it was the original, but they re-released it. So
Okay.
I think I was 3 years old. They re-released the original, and my parents took me to see it.
Okay. I also want to clarify. So you correct me on this. You didn't think though it was just asking us what we thought was the most successful box office, because that's just research, right? I mean, or I'm trying to figure out what your criterion was for determining what year. It was just like you went into it thinking, all right, well I just have to find out what year had the highest box office receipts. Then I don't know.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't that simple. I mean,
Okay.
It sounds like it was, but I think the reason that I picked 2015 was because there were so many huge movies during the year.
And it doesn't take a lot of work to go backwards 1 year. So good on you.
Yeah, you're right. You want to tell me that I copped out? Whatever. But I gotta say, The Big Short, another really, really incredible movie. Honestly, I don't think it could have been made 10 years ago. About a similar topic. I don't think they could.
I was going to say, yeah, I guess no, it would have been impossible to have made that 10 years.
I said about a different topic.
Right. I appreciate you saving that. Yeah, that would have, because it would have been funnier. But yeah, go ahead.
Avengers: Age of Ultron. I'm not saying it was the best movie in the world, but you know what? Tons of people love that movie. They love it more than the original Avengers movie. Jurassic World. What is it? Is it the highest grossing movie ever so far?
It's Star Wars actually now, isn't it, Matt? Not just.
Yeah, maybe Star Wars took over.
I don't think they overtook. I don't think it still hasn't overtaken Avatar, but so I think it's a number 2.
All right, I'll look it up while he's gone. Go ahead, Espo. Continue.
No, but there was such a variety throughout 2015. Also, like you had those big blockbusters. You had Straight Outta Compton, which it was a blockbuster, but not really on the same level. Again, I'm going to point this out. Not a fan, but Hunger Games. Come on, the last one came out in 2015.
Oh, I'm so thankful for that to end.
Mad Max: Fury Road.
There you go.
Creed. Ex Machina, Inside Out. There's really such a large variance between all of these extremely successful movies. And I feel like in a lot of other years that I was looking at, I would see successful movies, but there would be one here, two here, and this year, and they would all be the same genre. Or you'd have copycats of the same movie.
Right.
Whereas there's so many different types of movies that came out and were all very successful.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, granted, we had a Fantastic Four last year, but Bridge of Spies was a solid movie. I thought Spy was funny. Steve Jobs, great film, undervalued. Crimson Peak is a great little throwback Hammer film. Spectre is okay. Ant-Man, strong Marvel film. Revenant, fantastic. Martian. Spotlight, Inside Out.
Yes,
like
Spotlight, The Revenant.
I don't have as much of a problem with that as I thought I would. I would actually think I would go with 2014 being a stronger year than that. Because I get Whiplash, Babadook, Gone Girl, Birdman, Edge of Tomorrow, American Sniper, Selma, Boyhood, The Lego Movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Grand Budapest Hotel, Interstellar, Winter Soldier, Inherent Vice, Foxcatcher. All 2014. That's a damn good year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Interstellar and Babadook. Those were good.
So, all right. So you're gonna go with that. That's it. I gotta tell you, that's a bold choice. I gotta respect you for that. It's actually just saying, you know what? I'm going 2015, and it was a strong year. So good for you.
Well, I'm very curious to see what you got, Chris, because you've sung a particular year's praises, and I want to see if you go with that one.
Let me tell you, I really struggled with this, Matt. I was sitting on 1982 for a very, very long time. I really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I even toyed with pulling an Espo and going 2014. I really thought about it. 1999, strong. Matrix, Fight Club, American Beauty, Sixth Sense, Being John Malkovich, The Insider, Iron Giant, Eyes Wide Shut. Still, no, didn't make the cut. 1994, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, Shawshank, True Lies, Lion King, Forrest Gump. Didn't make it. 1978, Superman, Halloween, Grease, Deer Hunter, Animal House, Dawn of the Dead. No. I'm telling you, it really for me, it came down to 1974, right?
Okay.
You can tell me what came out in 1974. You got Chinatown, Blazing Saddles, Godfather 2, Young Frankenstein, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know. I'm really stuck on this. I think 2007, There'll Be Blood, No Country for Old Men. I'm telling you, I think I got to go 1980.
1980, huh?
You can change my mind. I could change my mind tomorrow, but right now I got to go 1980. Empire Strikes Back, The Shining, Raging Bull, Caddyshack, Superman 2, Blues Brothers, Elephant Man. I don't know. What's weird is I feel like 1980 doesn't have as many films, but the films in that year are so strong. Particularly Shining and Raging Bull. 76, man. I don't know. See, even as I go back at it now, I'm wondering if I really got to go with 82 because I love The Thing. You know, I watch The Thing like twice a year.
Yeah, I know you do.
I love that film. Blade Runner, Star Trek 2, man, I don't know. I still don't know. I've gone back and forth really between 1974, 1980, and 1982. Those have been the three I've been struggling with the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I mean, I didn't pick 1982 because I think really 1980 because the films I think like you said are excellent. It's just that there's the ones that are really good are really, really good, but there doesn't seem to be as many of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So it makes me think maybe I do have to go 1974. Chinatown, Blazing Saddle, Godfather 2, Young Frankenstein, The Conversation, The Great Gatsby, TCM, Death Wish, A Woman Under the Influence. Man, you know what? I'm gonna geek it out. I'm gonna go 1982 as well. Hell with it. I'm just gonna give in to I'm gonna be true to who I am. Right,
and that's what this is all about.
And I'm gonna say 1982. Those are the films I rewatch the most. I watch Blade Runner a couple times. I watch that probably every year. I watch Blade Runner. The Thing a couple times a year. One of my favorite scores, Star Trek 2, is I've seen that probably more times than years I've been alive. So I know I'm a hack, but I'm probably gonna have to go 1982 on that. I'm gonna have to call an audible. They're like, 2014, strong. I don't know. What do you guys think at home? Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. You know what? Just take me to the woodshed for my waffling. I deserve it. I really do.
Seriously. Pick a year and stick with it there.
I know. I can't do it. It's sad. It really is. That was a disaster. I think we dripped down to a D+. Let's take another break and see if we can salvage the 300th episode of The First Run. Discussion of weird science. Let's take a listen.
It's not a bad idea.
What?
Making a girl. Actually making a girl.
This is Wyatt and Gary.
I'd give her Wamdigious mammary glands.
Something's about to change their world. Something out of this world.
She's alive! Alive!
What would you little maniacs like to do first?
It's all in the name of science. Weird science.
If you want to be a party animal, you have to learn to live in the jungle.
Not us. Not here. No way.
She is turning their lives.
Trust me for once, will you?
What is going on?
Gary, I don't know. I don't know.
Their minds. And their house. Upside down.
It's seriously affecting your sex life.
It's completely unnatural.
Do you realize it's snowing in my room?
Totally unbelievable.
What's going on?
And definitely weird.
Hi, dudes.
They went from zeros to heroes in one fantastic weekend.
I'm so good.
Universal Pictures presents a John Hughes film, Weird Science.
It's purely sexual.
Before we talk about weird science, I have one question for both of you. Does anybody? All right, so let me ask first off. What's the audience for this film? 15, 16?
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's probably a raunchy teen comedy, something that they would sneak into to go see.
Anybody in that age group right now have any idea what a record scratch is? What that means?
No. No, I don't think so.
It's one of the many wonderful dated references you're going to see in Weird Science. Let me tell you, when they walk in, the Animal House style, right, into the what is it, the candy bar?
Yeah.
And they get the record scratch because of all the rough guys and women that are hanging out at the candy bar, including the guy who plays an Hispanic guy, who I'm fairly confident is not Hispanic in that film. And there's also possibly one of the darkest parts of that film when our buddy Anthony Michael Hall basically does blackface. He doesn't do it Soul Man style, but it's just one of the charming reminders how the 80s were a much simpler and much more innocent and oppressive time. So, Espo, you're a big fan of Weird Science. We talked about doing this film, and you said, you said, Chris, self, but not me. I'm not going to see Weird Science in preparation for the show because I've seen it just recently, and I've seen it a bunch of times. I can come in cold. I'm the control for this experiment. So, Espo, why don't you tell the kids at home, why don't you break down what the whole point of Weird Science is?
All right, well, I guess the plot is it's every high school nerd's dream, right? It's a wet dream. Two nerds who never get girls they create their it's sort of like a genie. She's not a genie, but they create this woman who is their fantasy in every way, and she teaches them how to be cool and how to grow up in certain ways. Not necessarily with the best lessons, but
no, probably not. No.
But I think at the core, she's basically like a genie for them. She gives them whatever their wish is her command.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think that's perfect because I was trying to figure out, and maybe in my adult age, so I couldn't come up with it, but I was trying to figure out what she was because it's much more supernatural than it is scientific, right? Yeah. Let's if we can even get past the craziness of how they're able to create a girl using computers from 1985. My favorite part is when they plug the phone into the receiver to access what I'm assuming is the Pentagon or something. I don't know. Right. NORAD. So.
Back then, I doubt there were very many firewalls. You probably could just dial up NORAD pretty easily.
And I loved how the security walls, like you said, the firewalls that they get through, how that all works animation-wise. So perfect.
Yeah. Can you imagine, and while I was watching this, and I've had this happen several times when we were watching these 80s movies, but can you imagine, like, people would lose their damn minds if somebody was going to make this movie today. Like, if they were going to make two nerds are going to create a sex genie and basically they're going to create a woman sex slave is what they're going to do, is the entire premise of the movie. Like, people would lose their minds.
And it's funny is I did some research after I watched it. In 2013, they were going to remake it at Universal. Joel Silver, the producer, was back, and they were going to make a hard R version of Weird Science. Not only do I think they couldn't, I don't even know if they should. Right. I feel like I don't think I want to see. Forget the morality of the whole concept and how screwed up it is. I just don't. Not that it just wouldn't play today. I just don't think I'd want to see it. I think it belongs back in the 80s, and I don't think I can't come up with an update of this that would make it work today without it being, not even just being wholly inappropriate, just working as a film. I don't know. I just don't see it.
That's a very good point. I feel like one of the most redeeming qualities about the movie is that there is a sweet message at the heart of it, and you could actually watch it and say, it's not that bad. There's a little tiny bit of nudity and there's some swearing, but it's not that raunchy. It's not that terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You remember they had actually turned this into a TV show. So I think if you want to see what an updated version of this, go try and find it from late 90s, early 2000s when it was on USA. But yeah, I think that's basically what you would get. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of weird. It's like, you watch some of these 80s movies and it all comes down to the heart of it, and it seems a little bit more innocent, and it does have its funny parts. I mean, the part where they have the party and the reeks from Mad Max come and crash it, and turning his brother into a giant booger or whatever the hell he was supposed to be. I mean, some of that I thought was pretty funny, and it still kind of brought me back to that place. But I don't know. I think you're right. This is definitely, even more than something like Footloose, this is definitely an anachronism of the 80s.
Yeah, I would agree entirely, and it deserves to stay there. And it was interesting, too, seeing Robert Downey Jr. before he got his teeth capped. It was like glaringly obvious to me, that he... I didn't even realize it until I watched this film. Still, he's fantastic in it. I don't know why he wasn't nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, it has a lot of famous quotes in it as well. But I still found it very funny. I did. I laughed a lot, and I don't think it didn't hit as hard as Better Off Dead did. I still think that's the golden TFR award winner, and we got to do that, Matt. I think at the end of this marathon, we should do like our own version of the Academy Awards. Choose the best actor out of all the films and overall best film. We should go through all of that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do. But still, it's solid. Kelly LeBrock, man, you forget. Kelly LeBrock,
girl.
Yeah, in the early 80s or early to mid 80s, she was she was it. So
and she was married to Steven Seagal. That's the only man who can handle that.
Still, yeah, I don't know. We just had a very gentle dusting of homophobia, only a couple F words, right? Which is good. Maybe a little too heavy on some of the casual racism again, just at the scene at the candy bar. But overall, nothing. I didn't find anything too exceptionally offensive, given the time that it was made. Just a couple groan-inducing. Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow, 1985.
Yeah. So I mean, I tend to agree with that. I think it's an artifact of the 80s, but it's an enjoyable artifact. I wouldn't go in saying that this is one of the best films of the 80s or even one of the better John Hughes movies, but it was pretty good. I mean, if you watch it, if you're in the right frame of mind, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add on that, Espo?
No.
All right. Perfectly wraps that up. Let's move on then. Let's hear one more clip. We're going to play you... I'm going to play you one of the films that didn't make the cut of the best films that have come out since this show started on December 17th, 2009. But we're using 2010. Let's take a listen.
You've wandered from the proper path, haven't you? These problems you have?
I don't have any problems. I don't know what I told you, but if you have work for me to do, I can do it.
You seem so familiar to me.
Yeah. What do you do?
I do many, many things. I am a writer, a doctor, a nuclear physicist, a theoretical philosopher. But above all, I am a man. Hopelessly inquisitive man, just like you.
Well, I'm sorry if I got out of hand last night. It's cold in those homes.
Don't apologize. You're a scoundrel. And as a scientist and a connoisseur, I have no idea the contents of this remarkable potion. What's in it?
Secrets.
So that, of course, was in honor of the dearly departed and dearly missed Philip Seymour Hoffman, along with Joaquin Phoenix in The Master. A very, I think, underrated film. A little long, or as you like to say in the business, deliberately paced. But a fantastic performance from P.S. Hoffman in that film. And The Master did not make the cut for me. Again, I think I had 70-something films on my initial list that I had to trim down to be the 5 best films that have been released since the first run has started. And I'm not happy with my list. I am not happy.
I hear you. I don't know if I would say these are the best films, but these are ones that I could say, you know what, I'm probably going to keep watching these for years to come.
I think that's a good way to describe it, right? So maybe we should say to them our favorite films since the first run started. Is that a more apt descriptor?
I think so. And like you, I have a list of. I mean, after I winnowed down the honorable mentions, it's still pretty friggin' long. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Whew. All right, so who wants to start things off? Espo, why don't you start things off? I'm going to go last because I do all the work. I get the ultimate number 1. And you know what's sad? Everybody knows what my number 1 is. So go ahead, Espo, start us off. What's your number 5?
All right. So number 5 is Black Swan.
Really?
It's that Mila Kunis, Natalie Portman thing, I think is what it is.
No, it's not even that. She's not my thing, really, but...
Oh, Mila Kunis.
No, definitely not her either, but... No, I think you remember we reviewed this movie on the show, and I remember going into it thinking I had no interest in it. It's a movie about ballerinas, and I came out, finding that it was a thriller. It was really really intense, and I think you guys made fun of me for calling it a masterpiece, actually. But
I don't think I would have said. I would have made fun of you calling it a masterpiece. It's a great little film, and if I did, I owe you an apology, because
we were pretty full of ourselves back then, though.
It just occurred to me.
We are now.
Exactly.
But yeah.
No, I think it's a strong pick. I think, and I want to clarify too, and how do I say this without sounding like an ass to you? Expo over the last few years hasn't been able to get out to all the movies I have. Neither has Matt. So let's not give everybody a hard time if you say, how could you pick that because they're working off of a smaller bench? Is that fair?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
That is fair.
But I will say, Espo, if Morning Glory pops up on your list, I will disconnect you from this session.
I was going to say the same damn thing.
I thought about throwing it out there just for fun, but no, it will not be on my list.
Okay. I'll tell you, kids, you want to go back in time and listen to one of the greatest episodes of this show, you track down the Morning Glory episode, you track down the Antichrist episode. The Avatar one was really strong. I think I'm basically saying the show Sucker Punch is another great one, which I'm saying basically the show hasn't been good in 2 years. So, Matt, what do you got?
I think the best one was Battle Los Angeles, actually.
Battle Los Angeles, yeah, that was okay. That was actually, that was pretty good.
No, not the best movie, the best show.
Right, yeah. That's
okay, I got to clarify that. Definitely.
Smart that you do. Matt, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was a film that came out of nowhere, and it kind of blew me away how much I liked it. Was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I love the music. I kind of love the whole aesthetic of it. I was not expecting a video game movie, and I was pretty stoked when I saw this. When that 8-bit Universal logo came on, grinned from ear to ear when I saw it. I was like, I'm in for something cool, and I did not disappoint.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. It's on my list. Didn't quite make the cut, but it was a serious contender. I think I've had 6 different films in my number 5 spot since we started compiling this list, and that was definitely one of them. My number 5 then is possibly the most tragic film on the list, but also one of the most beautiful. And it's a one-timer for a lot of people, but I've watched it 4 times now because it's just so powerful. And it's Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave. Few films have moved me. That's why you're making me dizzy. Few films have moved me the way Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave did when it came out. I mean, that thing tore me apart, and I haven't cried that much in a movie theater. I don't know if I ever have. It's a horrific film, but it demands viewing, and at times too, it is stunningly shot. So to have the juxtaposition of this absolute horror with these beautifully composed shots is just, I don't know. Chiwetel Ejiofor is masterful as Solomon, and I just can't praise it enough. So if you haven't seen it, prepare yourself, but you have to. It should be mandatory viewing, and that's 12 Years a Slave, my number 5.
All right.
All right, so bring us back into some levity. What do you got for number 4?
For number 4, I have Inception.
Okay. That's it. All right, great. All right.
I'm a little curious if it's on anybody else's list, but
it's not on mine.
It's not on mine either. No, I'm sorry.
Oh. All right.
And for me, and I'll tell you, I remember enjoying it when I saw it, but it hasn't held up for me like as much, and I'm never like in the mood like where I'm gonna say, oh, let's sit down and watch Inception again. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's just I don't come back to it.
I could see that. It's probably not something I'm going to choose to watch again. Maybe one other time if it happens to come on or something, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find it. But I just thought the whole concept was really unique. So.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. It doesn't seem to have the same replay value, though. I've seen it 3 or 4 times since it came out. But I don't. I'm like with Matt. I don't have the pull to see it again. And another film too. And I know I want to. If I'm jumping the gun, I apologize. I'll just say this quickly. Interstellar seems to have that same thing for me. I liked it in the theater. I bought it when it came out. Been sitting on the shelf ever since. I don't know. Yeah. So all right, Matt. What do you got for me? What's your 4?
All right. So my number 4, a little bit out of left field. You want some levity? Here it is. I watched this with my daughter, and I was blown away by how much I liked it. In fact, even you, Chris, said it was brilliant. It's the Lego Movie. Obviously, it has tons of references in it, lots of pop culture nuggets that you can really dive into a deep rabbit hole, which is really appeals to somebody who's as nerdy as I am. I loved all the little cameos. I loved all the little in-jokes. I mean, Will Arnett as Batman and some of the stuff that he says is just absolutely hilarious. You know, it's a spaceship full of bon vivants. How can you not like that? I mean, so the Lego Movie, I think, is a fantastic film.
Yeah, the Star Wars joke on that killed me. I laughed so hard at that, and I feel sometimes weird going to see those movies because I think 90% of the time it's me and then a bunch of moms and their kids, right? So I'm the lone weird guy in his early 30s. Who's sitting in the kids' movie, and especially at that Star Wars gag where I snorted, I laughed so hard at that one gag. So I must have got reported and put on some list somewhere. Espo, I'm sure you've seen the Lego Movie. What do you think?
No, I haven't actually.
Espo, you're missing out, man.
Espo, yeah. Is that on the Flickster? You should check that out. I think it is.
It is on there. I've been meaning to check it out. That's how I saw Mad Max, which I didn't love, by the way, but anyway.
Wow. Okay, we'll talk about that later. My number 4 is a film that has really, really grown on me. And I was shocked when I was putting my list together that I made this my number 4 film. But I think it deserves it. And you know what the weirdest thing about it, Matt and Espo, but particularly Matt, this film came up just the other week, the last show we did, when we talked about films where, we did a thing where the critic reviews versus the cinema score. right?
Mm-hmm.
This film has a cinema score of F. F. And it's killing them softly. I've watched this thing probably 4 or 5 times since it came out. I love this film. And it gets better every time I watch it. I don't know if it's because it's the whole film noir thing that it's got going on. I don't know if tied in with the election, in 2008. It's just a brilliant film. Brad Pitt is fantastic in it. Gandolfini is devastating. It's got Scoot McNairy and Ben Mendelsohn, who are kind of the guys, right? When you see them, you're like, oh yeah, that guy, he's great. And Ray Liotta, I mean, if you haven't seen Killing Them Softly, I'm telling you, it's a fantastic modern noir crime thriller. If you're into that kind of thing, you have to see it. The problem was, right, when the advertisements came out with it, they made it look like this big kind of Scorsese-esque gangster film with Brad Pitt. And that's not what it is. It's a far more contemplative film than that, but it's well worth your time. So much so that it's my number 4.
I agree. That's a very good film. I really enjoy it.
Espo, have you seen Killing Them Softly?
I have not.
Get on that.
Yeah. Get on it.
All right.
Good man. All right, so then does that leave us Espo at number 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So my number 3 is The Big Short.
Mm-hmm.
I just really enjoyed it. It made an impact. They did it. I love the way they did it. They told a complicated story in a way that everybody could understand and appreciate. I don't know that they dramatized it or what the right term is. They made it funnier and more entertaining, obviously. But it really opened your eyes to how just messed up our government and financial support system really is. And the cast, every performance in that movie was incredible and so out of their character. I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic film. It really is. They do a great job of explaining exactly what happened. And if you were to tell me that Adam McKay was going to be nominated for an Academy Award 5 years ago, the guy who directed Semi-Pro, I would have said you're insane. But it's an exceptionally strong film, fantastic performances, and they do such a great job explaining it. And how not even just to do a great job explaining it, but how they do it is part of the brilliance. So, yeah, it's a definite must-see. Matt, did you get a chance to see The Big Short? Did we talk about it?
I did, yeah. It's a really good film. It'll be interesting to see how it ages, especially as we get further and further away from the financial crisis. But, yeah, I think it's a really good film. And, Margot Robbie in a bathtub will make anything go down easier when you're being explained to.
Thanks for that's good. We can that's a nice tie-in for Weird Science. Good for you. Matt, what's your third favorite film since the show started?
All right, so you ready for my recency bias picks here? The next 3 are all very recent, so we're just gonna plow right into them. Number 3 is film we've talked about many times. Chris was kicking himself in the butt for forgetting this in the best of 2015, but it follows. I think one of the best horror films I've seen in a long time. It's just the way they did it, the suspense, the tension, the way they shot it, and even the performances are great. It's a fantastic film. It's really good even for a non-horror fan.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like some non-horror fans, right? They feel it's just too slow, or it's not. I don't know what it is. Espo, did you see It Follows?
I did.
What do you think?
Yeah, I loved the beginning, and I loved the setup, and I loved some of the early scares, but the characters I didn't care about any of them, and the the pacing was a little off for me, and also there was one scene that what?
That's what I'm saying. That's what some people really feel that way about it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, there's that one scene that it just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the story. It was like they just threw it in there to be disturbing, and it was. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't fit with the rest of the premise.
What is it? The mom and the kid scene, or is it? A different one? But that's how the whole. All right, I could argue that, but fair enough. Yeah, it didn't make my list. Serious contender though, but It Follows is one of the creepier films that you'll ever see. Yeah, I did remember it this time though, Matt. It just didn't. It wasn't as good as my number 3. You know what my number 3 is?
I can't wait.
The greatest martial arts film in the last 10 years, The Raid: Redemption. You want to talk about brutal, and I love the second film, Berengal, but it's much larger, denser film, maybe not to its credit. But The Raid: Redemption is such a lean, mean film, man. It's just this squad of elite soldiers, or police, trying to make their way through this building owned by this drug dealer. Maybe you've seen it. It was called Dread a couple of years later. But still, it's just basically just him trying to get out of this building alive. And some of the most wincing, bone-crunching martial arts you will ever see. If you like martial arts films, I'm telling you, if you haven't seen The Raid: Redemption, you are you're hurting yourself, really, and your soul is missing something. So you have to see The Raid: Redemption, and it's my number 3.
It's a good pick.
All right. Espo, you said that you were with us when we did The Raid, right? You were still around then, weren't you?
I don't think so. 'Cause I never saw it.
Yeah, I think it was me, you, and Dave.
All right.
Yeah, but I don't know. The Raid didn't. It made my honorable mentions, but it just didn't make the list for me. I wasn't quite as blown away with it because I think I'd heard you guys gush about it before I actually saw it, and you really set my expectations really high. And it's fantastic, but I don't know.
Yeah,
just didn't hold up.
It probably had at least a dozen scenes when you go like this, Espo. Oh! So that's when you know you're in for a good time. All right, Espo, what's your second favorite film since the show started?
All right, somebody's got to do it, and you knew it would be me. Star Wars Episode 7.
Hey, it's my number 2 as well, Espo.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
Look, man, it's everything I wanted. It was entertaining. Granted, it has its flaws, but it brought the excitement back to Star Wars for me, which is something that I absolutely loved. And George Lucas nearly destroyed it with his god-awful prequel trilogy that I'm, for the first time, acknowledging exists on this show. It had to be number 2. Had to be.
Espo?
Yeah. I agree. I'm not sure I can really think of any flaws that it had, but what it did have was the same energy. Like the energy that was there with the first, the original Star Wars, it was there, and I don't know how he recreated that, but he did, and it almost made me realize more how lacking the prequels really were. It's just a better story, and it was characters that you love and that you know, and maybe that's the secret, is that it was well-established characters, whereas the prequels were trying to establish more new ones, but it blew me away how good it was. I really didn't go into it thinking that it would live up to the expectations, and it did, and I think everybody feels that it did. I haven't heard one person say that they didn't like it.
How could you not like it? It's the same damn film as the first movie. It's exactly the same movie, so how could you not like it?
Well, you know what? There's a flaw, okay, and I did hear people say that, but even the same people that were saying that still loved it.
As did I. I actually adored the film as well. And I think the one reason why it wasn't in my top 5 is, I was hesitant to put stuff that was that new, though I ended up doing it. But still, 2, I think it was because it is the same film, just updated and cooler. And listen, if you want to go just sheer cinematic presentation, it's probably the best film of the series, when you get down to it. Just for technical proficiency, to finally be able to see, Matt, you made a key observation of this, to finally be able to see the reflections of the lightsabers made that fight in the wintry forest one of the most beautifully shot scenes you saw in all of 2015. So, yeah, it's honorable mention for me, right? Again, one of the films, remember I said like 6 different number 5s? That was one of them. So, I hear you. So my number 2 then, I really went back and forth on this, but I think I had to give it to it, and I went with Fury Road. I just adored Mad Max Fury Road. I think George Miller showed us things we had never seen before in an action film. Talk about just revitalized an entire franchise, much like Abrams has done with Star Wars, and he did previously with Star Trek. But still, I remember we talked about it when we did the show, when they were pushing the film, right? Visionary director George Miller. Oh, I mean the guy that did Babe, Pig in the Woods, the city, wherever the hell it is. Yeah, I'm supposed to be excited about that. And I was absolutely blown away. And I can't remember the last time when I was in the theater when it was like the scene, it's like the old Memorex commercial, right? Where the guy's just pinned down in his seat because of the sound is so clear and vibrant. That's what it's like to see Mad Max Fury Road in IMAX. I'm telling you, the thing just grabs you by the throat and just does not let go for 2 hours. It is a gorgeous film, fantastic sound editing, of an understated yet gripping performance by my boy Tom Hardy. Charlize Theron, one of the strongest female characters you'll see as Furiosa. Just all around a fantastic film, the best film of 2015. Not Spotlight.
Mm-mm.
Mad Max Fury Road. And I made it my number 2. You know what? I bet you what'll happen is in a couple of years, I'll revisit this and say, you know what? Probably not my number 2, but I'm telling you right now, I feel it. That's how I feel. That's where I am. At this part of my life. Espo, what's your number 1?
All right. My number 1 is The Conjuring.
Interesting.
You guys know I'm a horror fan, and that was something that was original. I mean, based on true story, whatever, but but it was original in the way that it was done. It was original, just in so many ways, and it was different than any of the movies that were coming out around that time, or any of the horror movies that I had seen in years. I feel like everything that was coming out for a while was trying to be like M. Night Shyamalan's movies, and this was like sort of an old school ghost story, but with updated technology and stories that I think everybody's been interested in for so long. I mean, the Warrens had a following. They would go to different venues and talk about their studies and the cases that they investigated, and I think to put that on the big screen was just awesome for so many people. And I'm really looking forward to the sequel. I saw a preview for it when I was watching 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I'm excited. I saw Annabelle, and that was okay, but not the same. I think the sequel is going to be really, really good.
I hope so. I got to tell you, that trailer for the sequel has got me a little underwhelmed. And I think the scariest thing about Annabelle is the first 10 minutes of the movie. After that, it's all downhill. And I have my same issues with The Conjuring. First off, nothing's conjured. I don't. Okay. But still, I think the ending of that film kind of falls apart for me a little bit. But it is one of the creepier films you'll see. I think It Follows is creepier for me. But still, I think it's a strong pick, Espo, and a bold one at number 1. Matt, what do you think about his pick of The Conjuring?
I would agree with you. It is a bold pick. It's a pretty good film. I think it's like up there with like a film like Sinister, where I liked it when I saw it, but every time I don't really ever. I'll see it in like a bargain bin, and I'm like, I don't need to buy that. I'll keep mine at $7.
I think it's much better than Sinister. Sinister's okay.
Yeah.
But I think Conjuring is a much better film than Sinister.
Yeah. Maybe I just need to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that Sinister is a one-watch movie, but I didn't feel like that was on the same level as Conjuring at all.
Fair enough. Matt, what's your number 1?
Oh, my number 1 is Fury Road.
Look at that.
Yeah. So I don't have. I guess really all I'll say about it is. There's no reason that this should have gotten made, and there's absolutely no reason this should be as good as it is. I was absolutely blown away while I was watching it. It's a freaking blast.
Yeah, you're entirely right. It's I've already shared my thoughts. Espo, you need to watch it as soon as possible. Oh, you did watch it.
I didn't like it. It's not that I didn't like it. I didn't see what all the excitement was about. It was.
Espo, there was a guy playing a flame-throwing guitar.
Yes,
That
the Doom
was my
Warrior.
favorite part. That was definitely my favorite part of the movie. No, I mean, there was nothing I can point out specifically that I didn't like about it. It just was, I don't know, it just didn't grab me. It didn't, maybe because I didn't see it in the theater, maybe that was part of it, but...
Well, I suppose, there is your voting member of the Academy, folks.
That's
Chris Esposito.
it's his fault. That's exactly right. That's right. I really thought you were going to be a war boy, Espo, and you have let me down.
All right, let's
do it.
Chris, let's just say this pick that we all know you're going to say. Let's bring this on home.
Let's just close it up. It's Drive, 2011, Nicholas Winding Refn. My favorite film since we started doing this show. I think it's showed up as my number one. I don't know how many lists. It's like Dave and Royal Tannenbaums. But again, another neo-noir film. Ryan Gosling plays just the driver. A guy who's just a driver for Hollywood, and he moonlights as a getaway driver, and he gets sucked into this just horrible, devious plot where he has to help this girl that he may be falling in love with, and everything just goes absolutely to hell. One of my favorite things about it is they took the script, right, and then they just kept crossing out lines. So it's all interaction, it's all looks, it's all emoting. And it's absolutely brilliant. Albert Brooks is Bernie Rose. He's the main bad guy, and he is just so sinister. And you're not used to seeing Albert Brooks in that kind of a role. One of the interesting things he did for that film is he shaved off his eyebrows, and just to give himself this kind of weird, blank, kind of emotionless face. And Ron Perlman, Oscar Isaacs before he blew up, and Inside Llewyn Davis, and of course as Poe Dameron.
Mm-hmm.
So really, Christina Hendricks perfectly cast in this noir as the mole type. I'm telling you, just Nicholas Winding Refn knocks it out of the park in this film. It is absolutely fantastic. One of my all-time favorite movies, and my obvious number one.
When are we going to get a moratorium on Drive, man?
That's not a bad. You know what? It's episode 300. It's going in the Pantheon. The Drive is going in. It will no longer be mentioned in any top fives. We're locking it up. I think that's fair to do at this point. The 300 show. I think it only makes sense. I think what I might do for the website, since I haven't written anything in a while, is I'm going to tell you too. Since I have 70 films, I'm not going to list them all, but I may do a top 10 kind of indie films, things that you may not have seen that we talked about on the show that I absolutely loved. I think that'll be a fun little write-up for me to do. Yeah. Any honorable mentions you guys wanted to really just to kick out real quickly?
The only thing I want to mention, I had a long list as well. I'll say Under the Skin, I think, is a divisive movie, but it's something that I think everybody should watch. I like The Witch a lot. I think I could see that growing on me as we go through here. And a film that came out, we did not watch it for the show, but it is an underrated comedy classic, is MacGruber. If you haven't seen MacGruber,
I haven't.
Go out and watch it. It is a hell of a lot funnier than you would think it would be.
It would have to be.
Yeah, it does not look funny.
Guys, I am telling you, just watch it.
All right, that's fun. Did you have any honorable mentions? Anything you wanted to talk about as well, quickly?
I mean, somebody mentioned Spotlight before, and I loved that. That it's another recent one, but just very well done. And but I actually had trouble coming up with. Like you were saying before, I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And so I had trouble coming up with my top five, but yeah, definitely Spotlight is an honorable mention. I'm sure there's some other ones that I love that you guys would make fun of, so I'm gonna keep them to myself. But
Morning Glories.
Fair enough. All right.
Not that one. Actually, I don't know if I told you this or not. I might have a long time ago. I watched that movie again, and it really kind of sucks.
Oh, it doesn't.
Wow. You mean that we might have actually been correct in our assessment?
Yeah. I think you were. What I'll say is I enjoyed it at the time, but I know it's not a good movie.
I repeat again, track down that episode. You have to listen to it. I almost have a conniption fit at one point. I go into a fugue state when he starts talking about the film. It is classic stuff. All right, so next week, what's coming up in the big show? Well, let's be honest, possibly the biggest film of the year for me. It's Batman vs. Superman. And they had the worldwide premiere last night in New York City. Supposedly, people walking out of it saying it's fantastic. The review embargo lifts Tuesday at 6. We'll see. But I'll be checking that out in IMAX this weekend. And we'll see. Matt, Espo, either you guys going to get a chance to see Batman vs. Superman this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to make the time. I'm going to make the time. I'm going to try and get it done for you.
All right. Sounds good. Espo, thanks for joining us for our super duper extended action, fun, loved filled episode of the first run, number 300. It's been a blast, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me and indulging in my psychosis for yet another show. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
It was good to see you, Espo.
Good to see you guys.
Awesome. So we're going to take an extended break, and we'll see you all when we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Whoa! How about that for rock video music fans? Live all day, all night. We know what you need. Only right here on Dave TV.